Good evening, I'm Bill Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor, and I'm pleased to welcome you tonight to the September 23rd, 2020 meeting of the Brighton Town Board. Thank you for joining us again for this remote Town Board meeting. I'm going to start with a pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Almost exactly 6 months ago, on March 25th, we held our first remote town board meeting following the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. We had done a lot of preparation for that meeting with a goal and a focus on maintaining the continuity of government despite the pandemic. And I'm grateful particularly to Assistant to the Supervisor Bridget Monroe, Jeremy Lutz, our IT Director, and Steve Del Monte and his team from Electronic Field Productions, Inc., who conducts our broadcast and live stream, together with all of our department heads who have worked hard to make that goal a reality during these past 6 months. Together, you made sure that we could continue to hold our regular town board meetings and effectively make them accessible to the public. And I thank you for that. Once again, as we've been doing since March, tonight's meeting is being conducted remotely on Zoom, but broadcast in Brighton on Spectrum Cable Access Channel 1303 and live streamed on YouTube, all in compliance with the governor's executive order modifying some of the provisions of the open meetings law to enable local government bodies to continue to meet remotely in a way that is open and accessible to the public. We continue to do that by starting every meeting, even these Zoom meetings, with an open forum. When the open forum begins tonight, after proclamations and our budget presentation, you'll be able to call in at 303-3060. Someone will take your call and pass along your questions or your comments to me. We do continue to make our meetings accessible to the deaf and hard of hearing community as well, with our ASL sign language interpreters. Tonight, Allie and Susan are our interpreters, and I thank you both very much. Just as a reminder, the agenda for tonight's meeting and all of the supporting materials that we'll be looking at in making our decisions are available on the Town of Brighton webpage at www.townofbrighton.org. I want to remind everybody that the town and the town's IDEA board, our Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Advisory Board, will be holding our third remote World Cafe community discussion on Saturday, this coming Saturday, September 26th, on Zoom at 9:30 a.m. I invite community members to participate in this discussion so your input can be part of the development of our inclusion and diversity plan for Brighton. You can still sign up. You'll be able to sign up through Friday, and you should go to the Town of Brighton Recreation Department webpage. I can't stress enough how important the work of the IDEA board is as we work to address issues of structural racism and develop an inclusion and diversity plan for Brighton with our consultant, Gwen Weber McLeod. And I appreciate the work of our town board liaison, Robin Wilt, in that undertaking as well. Tonight, we continue with the open and public process of developing the town's 2021 budget. In the midst of dislocations, both societal and fiscal, that affect local government finances more acutely than any other circumstance during most of our lifetimes. 2 weeks ago, the town board unanimously adopted the town's capital improvement plan for years 2021 through 2023. Tonight, Finance Director Paula Parker will present the 2021 tentative budget, which is the culmination of several months of hard work, not only by the finance department, but by all of our department heads. We'll hold 2 public hearings on the budget at our town board meetings in October 14th and October 28th. And as always, the public is invited to comment on the budget at that time. Following those hearings, I'll ask the town board to take action to adopt the 2021 town budget on October 28th. I'll say a little bit more about the budget following the finance director's presentation. But at a time when over 200,000 Americans have died from COVID, and families, small businesses, and yes, local governments face a range of financial challenges caused by the COVID pandemic, not to mention the personal toll it has taken on all of us, I find it unconscionable that Congress has been able to pass a relief package to assist local governments who are facing drastic reductions in revenues at the same time as we're responding to new demands for services to our residents. Brighton is yet to receive $1 in COVID aid from Washington at a time when our second largest source of revenues, sales taxes, have fallen by more than double digits every month since April, leaving us hundreds of thousands of dollars behind budget already in 2020. The House of Representatives approved a bill, the HEROES Act, in May that would provide substantial relief to local governments like Brighton, as well as relief to our local school districts that also face unprecedented challenges of their own. But the Senate has yet to even take a vote on the HEROES Act or any legislation that would give relief to local governments in order to offset the sharp drops in revenue that we are facing. I find it ironic that the Senate leadership didn't even bother to wait for the funeral of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg to announce that they would hold a vote on her successor, whomever that may be, but can't be bothered to even take a vote on COVID relief legislation that would support towns, local government like Brighton. I call on the Senate to redirect their priorities to assist taxpayers in communities like Brighton across the country in dealing with devastating impacts from the COVID pandemic. I would now like to call a brief moment of silence in memory of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the first woman, the first Jew to lie in state in the Capitol. Justice Ginsburg was a remarkable woman, a remarkable Supreme Court justice, and like no other judge, has inspired a whole generation, particularly a whole generation of young women and girls to aspire to be like Ruth. And her memory will live on by the actions, the courage, and the commitment to justice of those young women and girls, modeling her great life. Next, we're going to be presenting 2 proclamations. Again, because we're holding these meetings remotely, I am presenting these proclamations on behalf of the entire town board. And the first proclamation recognizes National Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month. As you drive through the 12 corners, you've probably noticed the ribbons on the trees and light posts and the pergola in the 12 Corners Park. And as we do each year, thanks to the hard work of Ginger Ruff, we are participating in the nationwide Turn the Town Teal program with those ribbons, honoring National Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month. And so in recognition, I am going to read this proclamation. Whereas ovarian cancer is often called the silent disease because its symptoms are often vague and there is no conclusive early detection test for this disease. And whereas ovarian cancer is the 5th leading cause of cancer-related deaths among women and the deadliest of gynecologic cancers. And whereas if detected in its early stages, survival from ovarian cancer is 90 to 95%. But since the disease is so difficult to detect early, the 5-year survival rate for ovarian cancer actually stands at only 28%. Whereas to raise awareness of this terrible disease, local volunteers have placed teal ribbons on the trees, lampposts, and gazebo and the 12 corners, joining with other communities around the nation who promote the Turn the Town Teal campaign. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that I, William W. Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor, on behalf of all of the members of the Brighton Town Board, do hereby recognize September as National Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month and encourage Brighton residents to educate themselves about this disease in the hope of increasing instances of early detection and helping save women's lives. This proclamation is signed this 23rd day of September, 2020. And I'll just hold it up so everybody can see it. And again, I want to thank Ginger Ruff, who came to me. Ginger is a former director of the Brighton Chamber of Commerce, business owner here in Brighton. Ginger came to me several years ago asking if we would participate in this program. And we said yes, and I do hope that the work we've done through Ginger's leadership has helped raise awareness of ovarian cancer here in Brighton. The second proclamation this evening recognizes National Hispanic Heritage Month. Now, unlike most of the month proclamations and months period that are recognized, National Hispanic Heritage Month doesn't begin on the 1st of the month. It actually began on the 15th day of September, because that is the anniversary of independence for Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua. Mexico and Chile were also independent on September 16th and 18th, respectively. So National Hispanic Heritage Month begins each year on September 15th. And the proclamation reads as follows. Each year, Americans observe National Hispanic Heritage Month from September 15th to October 15th by celebrating the histories, cultures, and contributions of Americans who trace their roots back to Spain, Mexico, the Spanish-speaking nations of the Caribbean, and Central and South America. And whereas September 15th is a significant date because it is the anniversary of independence for the Latin American countries of Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua, while September 16th and 18th mark the independence days of Mexico and Chile, respectively. And whereas this year's Heritage Month theme of Hispanics, be proud of your past, embrace the future, invites Hispanics to recognize and honor their backgrounds, to be proud of who they are and where they come from. Whereas today, 60.6 million people of Hispanic origin live in the United States, making our nation home to the second largest population of Hispanic people in the world, second only to Mexico. Whereas Hispanic heritage is rich and captures the traditions and histories of numerous Spanish-speaking countries, joining together a large and diverse group of people with shared cultural elements who have made important contributions, each in their own unique way, to American culture. Now, therefore, let it be proclaimed that I, William W. Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor, on behalf of all the members of the Brighton Town Board, do hereby recognize September 15th to October 15th, 2020, as National Hispanic Heritage Month in the town of Brighton, and invite all our residents to explore the great variety of people, places, and traditions that comprise Hispanic heritage, and encourage our Hispanic neighbors to be proud of your past and embrace your future. And this proclamation is signed this 23rd day of September, 2020. There are a number of celebrations I know in the community. One that I attended in person last year and plan to attend virtually this year is at the Memorial Art Gallery. That's a great event, but there are many others. Okay. Next, on tonight's agenda is the 2020 tentative budget presentation. As noted before, we'll have public hearings at our next two meetings, October 14th and October 28th. But as we always do tonight, upon formal presentation of the budget, the tentative budget, to the community, I will ask our Finance Director, Paula Parker, to give an overview of the public and again of the budget. And again, I want to thank you, Paula, and Assistant Finance Director Suzanne Zaso for all the work you've done. Back and forth, working late nights, so hard in what is a very difficult year. So I'll let you take the floor. Thank you.
Okay, can everybody see the screen?
Yes.
And you can hear me, obviously. You answered my question. Okay, good. All right, so great picture, huh? So I want to thank Steve Zimmer.
And that's a real hawk.
It is a real hawk, yeah. That's not a fake one. That's a real one at our Veterans Memorial Park with our eagle here in the background and our flag over here. So it's a beautiful, beautiful picture. And Steve Zimmer, who works at the sewer department, actually took this photograph. So I wanted to thank him for that and gave us permission to use it. It is beautiful. And with that said, the budget really isn't as beautiful as this picture. As the supervisor said, the charts and the graphs that we're going to be using tonight is the hard work of myself, my Assistant Director of Finance, Suzanne Zaso, input and getting the budget ready. My assistants were Amy Banker, our accountant, and Anna Bowles, our senior payroll clerk. Thank you to Supervisor Maley and to the entire board for their direction, their guidance, their input. It's important because in the end, you are the most influence and have to represent your constituents. I also wanted to say thank you to the department heads, because every year we give them impossible benchmarks to meet, and they scrutinize their budgets and they work with me to reduce areas and increase some areas if need be. So I wanted to thank them for all their hard work. It wouldn't be possible for me to sit here tonight without their assistance. Okay, just want to remind everybody, usually we go through some slides that just show a little bit about the different departments and what they do. So we provide a safe and secure community. We've got a New York State accredited police agency with a staff of 40 full-time and 5 part-time professional and dedicated sworn police officers. They operate 24 hours a day. They provide emergency response, road patrol, criminal investigations, crime prevention, youth programs, animal control, and school crossing guards. And of course, Within the past couple of years, they've provided the court security officers. In 2019, we had almost 58,000 calls for service, which was up 15% from 2018 calls of just over 50,000. There were 564 criminal arrests made in 2019, up 10% from the 2018 arrest number of 511. As part of our community engagement initiatives, there continues to be community presentations made annually. And I know with COVID this year in 2020, that's probably been declining just a little bit because, well, we can't always meet in person. Court cases completed were 8,900 in 2019. Our roadway and infrastructure maintenance done by the highway and sewer departments. They maintain about 195 lane mile of roads, 83 miles of storm sewers, 41 miles of concrete gutters, 38 miles of curbing, and approximately 1,700 road signs. They repave and surface treat approximately 20.4 miles of roadways, installation and replacement of 613 square yards of gutters and 1,100 linear feet of storm sewers in 2019 alone. Snow and ice control, well, we plow and salt 318 lane miles of roads during the inclement weather. Curbside brush and leaf pickup townwide, we do from April to October. We process about 40,000 cubic yards of brush and 17,000 cubic yards of leaves. And those were rates that we did in 2019. Also in 2019, we removed 37 trees, planted 29 trees, and trimmed over 228 hazardous trees. We did the emerald ash borer treatment in 2020, this current year. The library. They provide a wide array of information, including books, multimedia, internet access, and online reference tools. Community resources, including computer classes, partners in the reading program for seniors, tutoring and study rooms, Friends of the Library Bookstore, Brighton Kiwanis Discovery Room for the children, and the Alice Wilson Low Vision Technology Room. We had over 270,000 patron visits to the library in 2019. Now we're down, of course, in 2020, and the libraries provided an estimate of about 180,000. That's understandable, obviously due to COVID. There were 2,065 active library programs with almost 68,000 of attendees in 2019. And our Brighton Memorial Library remains the second highest circulating public library in Monroe County. Parks and recreation. We have 7 parks and various recreation areas encompassing over 560 acres. And that includes the purchase of, in 2018, of our 26 acres of passive parkland on Westfall Road. Recreation facilities, including 8 playgrounds, 2 lodges, pavilions, an indoor and outdoor pool, 8 soccer fields, 7 baseball, softball fields, 4 tennis courts, 2 basketball courts, 2 pickleball courts, and of course, our picnic facilities. There's over 17 miles of walking trails with the addition of the new Highland Crossing Trail we completed last year. Activities and classes year-round for all age groups. We have about 260 of those programs with 670 sessions that were offered in 2019. We have the community garden, the farmers market, and the Veterans Memorial, which was on that beautiful photograph in the beginning of the presentation. In our government, our general government, we provide fire marshal services to ensure compliance with the fire and building codes. Public Works reviews construction projects for conformity with our town's comprehensive plan, our zoning and community development goals. Public Works plans new town infrastructure and development projects. Cable broadcasting for the public, as we are being broadcasted right now. The town clerk provides marriage licenses, passports, and conducts elections. The town historian collects, organizes, and preserves historical town records. And the assessor maintains our property valuation and records for all the town parcels. All right, so here we go with the budget. So the general fund, and I don't want to bore everyone with reading all these numbers, but authorized appropriations, 18.5 million. Revenues, which is where our story is going to focus tonight, 7.7 million. We're going to use a little bit more in fund balance this year. So the amount to be raised in taxes is 9,496,835. Following the highway fund, we have 5.7 million in authorized appropriations. Our revenue is a little over $1 million. We're going to use 450,000 in fund balance to raise taxes of 4,244,945. Our library fund authorized appropriations of 2,176,000. We're going to use 99,000 in estimated revenues, 75,000 in fund balance, which will leave the amount to be raised in taxes just a little over 2 million for the library. So when I look at those operating funds for the town, in total, we are going to raise $26,361,845 in authorized appropriations, the total that we expect to spend. We're going to raise estimated revenues of about just shy of 8.8 million. We're going to use a little more fund balance next year of 1.8 million. And then the amount to be raised taxes for the operating funds is $15,744,235. So the next line down is a comparison with what we did in 2020, the current year we're in. And I want to just focus on this middle line where it says change in operating tax levy. We usually don't put totals here, but I thought it was important to show what is really happening in the operating funds. So we've only increased our expenses by 266,000, but that big red number right there, where we're seeing a dramatic decreases in our revenues. And namely, we've got two major sources, which is sales tax and interest earnings. So not only did we go up a little bit in our expenses, we've gone down a lot, 7.5% reduction in our estimated revenues. So it's like a double whammy. So to help offset that, we are going to use about just 390,000 in our appropriated fund balances. So we're going to up that from what we used in the previous year, which is 1,445,000. So the result of all those numbers means that we will have to raise an additional $592,825 in taxes, or 3.91%. Slipping on down to the next little block, we're looking at our assessed value, which did grow. It grew about 0.5%. It grew $14 million. So keep an eye on that number right there, because that 0.5%, we're not going to get all that to be put towards the tax cap. We're going to get about half of that number, as the state does dictate that number. So looking at our assessed rate per thousand of assessed value, we're going to go from our $5, just a whisker over $5 per thousand, up 17 cents to $5.17 per thousand. So the actual increase in the rate is going to be 3.42%, 3.4%, which is just a little bit less than the 3.9 above. And again, I'm not going to read all through these numbers, but this slide is going to take everything we just went over with our operating funds, and let's add those special districts on. So the special districts are your sewer district, your lighting districts, your refuse districts, any of the special districts that we provide service for. Drainage is one, the parks is another one. So when we look at those total, townwide total operations, authorized appropriations are just over 32 million. Estimated revenues, just under 9 million. Appropriated fund balances and reserved, 1.9 million, leaving a total amount to be raised in taxes of $21,206,375. Our next row is we're going to compare that to what we actually did in the adopted budget of 2020. So you can read across those numbers. And again, this is really going to tell our story, this line right here. Expenses are going up just under $380,000. But those revenues, look at those revenues again, $730,000, 7.5% overall. We're going to use a little more fund balance here. And that $796,500 is what we're going to be raising in taxes. And that total is going to be 3.9%. 3.9%. So of that 796, it's broken down into two factions. One is within the tax cap, which is about 485,000. And the 311,440 is going to be above the tax cap. And again, we can see exactly where that number is coming from. It's coming from right here, that nice red number right in the center that we don't like very much. So we'll take a look at the tax cap calculation. We're going to start with what we levied in 2020. That base growth factor is what the state says we can get from our increase in assessed taxable value. And remember, I said that we had about just under 0.5%, and they're going to allow us 0.25%, about half of that to be put towards our tax cap. We collected 526,000 of pilots this year in 2020. That yields a growth factor of our taxes of about 1.56%. And everybody recalls it's been running around 2%. The tax cap's been about 2% because it's the greater of inflation or 2%. So again, I'm sorry, lesser of inflation or 2%. Our pilots receivable in 2021 is going to be 503,000. And our carryover was a little bit, $5,000. And this year on line 7, we've got some pension exclusions. This is the first year in several years that we've had an exclusion. This year, the police and fire retirement system did come in over the 2% cap on that. They're about 5% average. Anything over a 2% increase in the rates for the retirement system generates this exclusion. So that 81,000 is excluded from our tax cap. Therefore, it raises the amount we can levy in 2021. So the allowable increase is that 485,000 I kind of talked to it on the last slide there. That's a 2.38% increase with all those things added in. We are going to raise in our general fund, our library fund, and our highway funds, 15,744,235. All the special districts are going to add in 5.4 million to that number. So our total preliminary tax levy for 2021 is 21,206,375, which is going to be, again, that 3.9%, and it's $311,440 over our tax cap of the 385, or about 1.5%. Yeah, not the best news. So I want to look at now. So where's our money coming from? Well, we know that our biggest funding source is real property taxes. It's actually grown for 21 because of the loss of that sales tax revenue. So we're up to 6.22, or 6.22%, which is up from 2020, which was 60.8%. So we're up. It consists of our property tax levy, our pilots for the general, highway, and library funds only. We've got some late fees for real property tax payments for a total of $16,392,940. The distributed sales tax is down a little bit. In fact, it's down 2% because normally we've been around 4 million, 4.25, somewhere in there. Now we've had to really back that number off based on all the projections that we're hearing and seeing due to COVID, due to the economic downturn because of closing of the economy. So we're seeing those revenues go down. Departmental revenues are also down slightly. about a 0.5%. The appropriated fund balance, we're going to take that up quite a bit. We're going to be taking that up by about 34%. And I know the percent is big and the numbers aren't huge, but we're looking at utilizing about $400,000 in round numbers more for appropriated fund balance. Again, this is going to help offset some of that tax increase. Our mortgage tax actually is going to climb just a little bit, about $20,000. It represents 3.6%. And the one good thing about interest rates going down is it is helping people lower their mortgages, get mortgages at a fantastically low rate for 30 years. So that's a positive. Our intergovernmental charges, again, have stayed about flat. All other revenues are down slightly, but they represent 2.8%. And all of the other categories are state aid. Reserve funds, we're going to only appropriate $9,350 towards a sidewalk project for next year. And our federal aid, which has gone up slightly. Our interest is down. It's representing only about 0.1% this year. But all those categories are about 2%. Oh, this is one of my favorite slides, sales tax. You know, this has been a great slide. We can see from 2010 forward, our trend in sales tax, we've been trending up about on average 8% a year. This is a great graph. I love this. So we've actually been climbing and climbing and climbing. And this year for 2020, we're going to see a fall off of revenues. I'm hoping it's not more than 10% overall. We budgeted for 2020 this $4,335,000. On the present course, if things continue to be reduced by what they've been reduced, we probably will be coming in somewhere between 3.8 and 3.9 million. We'll be falling short of our budgeted number for the current year. Therefore, we probably will see this number next year dip way down. For the 21 budget, what we've estimated here is 3.8 million. Again, this is all based on the trends that are going on today. We'll know more as we get more quarterly payments in, but right now this is what we need, what we are budgeting. That decrease is about a 10% decrease. Oh, and then this is my other favorite graph. This shows our mortgage tax, which is extremely volatile. It's just very difficult to project what it's going to be. So this green line represents what we've budgeted over the years, what we thought was going to come in. The red line represents what actually did come in. So in 2003, we had this great year. We budgeted, you know, 700,000 and we brought in 1.4 million, almost double. But through the years, you can take a look and see we're budgeting 835 here, but look, we only received 695. So going forward in 2019, we received just a hair over $1 million. We had budgeted 895. This year in 2020, we've got 925,000 in the budget. We've received half of that payment. And so far, this is only a 2 payment a year program. So far, we're slightly over budget, and we feel confident with rates remaining low and people, you know, purchasing homes, refinancing. We hope to see that number go up, but we're being very conservative, and we are budgeting 20,000 increase up from 925 to 945. But this graph just shows you just when you think you've got it right, and there's been a couple of times here in 2009, and then here where we've been really close, but then most of the time it's way off because it is a difficult revenue to project. So net appropriations by expenditure, again, wages and employee benefits, about 76% of our total budget. Followed by our supplies and materials, which is just under 8%. Contractual services, they're down again about $100,000 for 2021, 6.5% of the budget. Debt service is just up slightly, again, for the debt that we're issuing in order to buy equipment, to pave roads in some cases. Equipment capital outlay represents 2.2%. Utilities and telephone, 1.5%. Insurance and risk management, just under 400,000 there, or 1.5%. Interfund transfers, 0. We don't have anything budgeted for these funds for next year. And then total appropriations, of course, is going to match our revenues, including the levy of taxes at $26,361,845. And then departmentally, this is how we're going to spend our money next year. 34% will go to our police department, followed by the highway department at 27.5%, just over 7 million. Then public works at 8.5%, 2.2 million. Our library right behind at 2.1 million. General government support at just under 2 million, or 7.4%. Our parks follows them at 5%. Then recreation, 2%, just under 2% for our town justices at $500,000. 1.6% for the town clerk. And then the supervisor and town council is at 1.7%, or 442,900. And again, net appropriations, that same $26 million number you see here. So what are we going to spend our money on next year? Some of the big stuff. Well, in the sewer district, we're going to do sewer relining. And we're going to keep the sewer relining flat with what we budgeted in 2020. There's not going to be an increase. We were not able to do that for 2021, so we will be keeping it flat going forward. We have a new pickup truck planned for the sewer district. We are going to bond that truck. In the sidewalk district, we're going to, again, do about 15,000 square feet. This is for the district. We're going to keep that, again, flat. We're going to utilize 10,000 from the fund balance in that account. The ambulance district, again, remaining flat. The contribution to the equipment reserve for the purchase of a new ambulance will remain at 70,000. Information systems, police, parks and rec, and other facilities is 2.1 million. And for information systems, we've got servers, computers, network, and disaster recovery equipment at 67,750. Our police vehicles, we're going to replace 3 vehicles this year. We're going to continue our body camera data storage program, and of course, vests for the officers. All that totaling $200,500. Recreation and parks, our farmers market is the big project. We've got $1 million in that capital project. We've received $1 million in grant funding. Our facilities, we've got to look at HVAC in town hall. The engineering for that is just under 190,000. And this year we'll be looking at actually replacing the library roof as we're getting it engineered this year in 2020. Now that replacement, we've budgeted 653,000. We all agree it probably will come in at less that number. And for those 2 projects, we will be issuing debt to fund those. For the highway and public works departments, for vehicles, we're going to buy a plow truck, a packer truck, and a pickup truck. 550,000. Again, we're going to be borrowing to fund those pieces of equipment. For our road programs, we're going to be repaving, resurfacing, doing storm sewers, gutters, and town sidewalks at 842,470. Again, those items are essentially flat. There could be small variations, but we've tried to at least maintain what we're doing in the current year. We've also got $135,000 in that number planned for an intersection to be repaved, and we'll plan on borrowing those funds as well. Planning and other, we have the Elmwood Avenue Gap sidewalk we've received a grant for in the amount of $60,000. The entire project is going to be $69,350 included in that $115,000 number. The difference is going to be used towards the GIGP, the Monroe Avenue maintenance. Our forestry and management's gone down a little bit. We're going to do our regular tree trimming, our tree removal, and our tree planting, and that number's down because we won't be doing the ash borer treatment this year. We've done it in 2020. We do it every 3 years, so that number is less of that treatment. All told, we're going to be spending just about $1.6 million on those projects. And that's what the 21 budget looks like. It's been a very challenging budget for us to put together. With the complications of COVID and the reduction of revenue, it really made us think hard and long about what we are able to do and how we're able to fund those projects. So I'd like to thank everybody, and if you have any questions, of course, please let me know.
Thank you, Paula. Again, I'm appreciative of the work that you and Suzanne have done to prepare this tentative budget for review and consideration by the town board and by the community. I do want to commend you on all that you did to keep overall spending nearly flat. There will be no pay raises, for example, for elected officials. You indicated a number of areas where even with infrastructure, which is so important, we never want to neglect our infrastructure, but the fiscal realities of today's world necessitate that we keep a lot of that spending flat. Unfortunately, there are mandated spending increases that we have no control over. You talked about the New York State retirement system. That's actually a double-digit increase this year in terms of the amount. In 21 over 20, and the reason for that, it's a little arcane, but the state retirement system calculates their liabilities and the contributions that each jurisdiction has to make as of March 31st. Unfortunately, March 31st was nearly the bottom of the stock market crash when the COVID pandemic hit. So it is forcing us to make a much larger retirement contribution than we would have liked and then that we have in past years. Healthcare, we just received information on that. Our healthcare premium costs, even though they're far below what a lot of organizations in the community are going to be getting charged for next year, they are still more than twice the rate of inflation that they're going up. As you pointed out, revenues to the town, non-property tax revenues to the town have fallen dramatically this year, and we expect that next year they will continue to fall well below what we had budgeted in 2020. The assessed valuation of property in Brighton remains relatively flat, and therefore the tax rate will increase, as you had indicated, about $34 per year for a house valued at $200,000, which is about the average price of a house these days in Brighton. Some properties will have more, some properties will have less based on their the special districts that they're a part of. But I do look forward to community input. I want to assure the community that we are going to continue to work to balance the need to provide essential services and infrastructure for the people of Brighton. We're going to work to control tax increases, now more important than ever, with so many families facing financial impacts from the pandemic. And finally, the need to preserve the fiscal strength of Brighton that we have seen reflected in the high ratings from the state comptroller and from Moody's. Balancing those three legs, a three-legged stool, if you will, is the balance that we strive for in developing our budget. Your input, the community's input, and the board's input at our two public hearings are how we can help make sure that we've balanced those needs correctly. Thank you. And again, we'll have our town board budget hearings the 14th and the 28th. We're now going to go to the open forum portion of the meeting. And if there is anyone that would like to participate in the open forum, again, feel free to call in. That number is 303-3060. 303-3060. Call in with a question or a comment about any matter relevant to the town, whether or not it's on the agenda this evening. I will note that we do have public hearings on the proposed demolition of properties located at 405 and 417 Western Drive. If you have comments related to that, those matters, I would encourage you to wait until we call the public hearing, which we will very, very shortly. And then your comments will be part of the record of that public hearing. So unless we have anything else right now, and we'll wait to see if anybody calls in, but in the meantime, we will proceed with the agenda. And I'll ask
that we approve the agenda.
Thanks, that was Chris. And who made the second?
Christine.
Christine, thank you. Motion to approve the agenda for tonight. Any discussion? Dan, if you would, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio,
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Supervisor Maley.
Aye. Next, public hearings. As noted, we have two proposed demolitions, properties located at 405 and 417 Western Drive. I'll check, Dan, has the necessary legal notice been given?
Yes, Supervisor, notice was published in the September 10th edition of the Brighton Pittsburgh Post.
Now, just to clarify, if I could, because I know we have two separate resolutions. Do we have, is this one public hearing or two public hearings?
Supervisor, it is one public hearing.
Thank you.
This
With
is
two resolutions.
with two separate resolutions to give the board the option to take different action with respect to each property.
Great, thank you. I thought that was the case, but I didn't want to get halfway in and get it wrong. Then legal notice of this public hearing having been given, I declare that the public hearing is open. I will advise the board that the owner of both of these properties, Mr. Paul Veal, has communicated with the town indicating his support for the demolition of these two properties. And I will ask our Commissioner of Public Works, Mike Guyon, to talk a little bit about them and expand on the material you have in front of you. Mike?
Thank you, Supervisor. The properties are located on Western Drive. For those of you who are not familiar, it's off of Brighton Henrietta Town Line Road, just west of West Henrietta Road. Ed Shiro, our building inspector, conducted a site visit of the properties, prepared a report and described the conditions. The report was part of the information that was submitted for the board. You can see that the report, the buildings have been unoccupied for an extended period of time. They have been neglected and overwhelmed with severe damage from weather and the other external elements. The buildings themselves have become an attractive nuisance, certainly unsafe for the general public and unfit for occupation or the intended use, their intended use. Tonight, for both properties, we're requesting per Chapter 51 of the Town Code that the town board declare those properties unsafe in order of demolition and removal. As the supervisor said, we have been in contact with the owner. The owner has indicated that he will be removing those homes, demolishing and removing the homes. at his expense, so there'll be no expense to the town either. That's about it, Bill.
And the reason that we're going through this process, even though the owner has indicated his willingness to do the demolitions and will be doing them himself, relates to controlled demolition and asbestos. Is that correct?
That is correct. This allows the owner to demolish the buildings and haul the material to a hazardous waste dump, as opposed to having to remove the asbestos, prepare a report and remove the asbestos piece by piece. It's just not safe to be in the buildings to do that type of work. So the idea is to allow the owner to demolish the buildings in whole and then take it to a hazardous waste dump.
But again, and your point is that although there are a couple of different procedures that can be used under different circumstances for asbestos removal, but this is a permitted approach to be used when you have an unsafe structure, as this one is. These
Correct.
two are, yeah. And the asbestos bearing material will be, as you said, disposed of in a hazardous waste facility, not in just a common landfill.
Correct.
Okay. We've heard that the owner is supportive. Any members of the public that are interested in calling in to comment should do so. Again, the number is 303-3060, 303-3060. Again, these are one public hearing for both of these properties, 405 and 417 Western Drive. So anybody with any comments about either one of them can do so at this time, and we'll wait a moment. But I'll ask, do any members of the town board have any comments for the public hearing? Hearing none and acknowledging that we have received no comments from the public other than from the owner, who again indicated his support for the project, I will declare this public hearing on the proposed demolition of properties at 405 and 417 Western Drive to be closed. And I would ask for a motion on the first resolution for the proposed demolition of 405 Western Drive. Chris?
I'm sorry, my keyboard was not unmuting me. Bill, with respect to the proposed demolition at 405 Western, I move that we adopt the resolution before us that be demolished.
Second,
Okay.
DeFazio.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, on the motion to approve the demolition of 405 Western, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio,
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Supervisor Mailey.
Aye. And Chris, if you would do the same for 417.
Bill, with respect to the proposed demolition of the structure at 417 Western Drive, I move that we adopt the resolution before us that it be demolished.
Second.
Thank you, Christine. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, on the proposed demolition of property located at 417 Western Drive, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio,
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye. 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 A
That concludes the public hearings for tonight. Next on the agenda are communications. Robin, if you could move to receive and file those.
I move that we receive and file the communications.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second. Chris
We have
Warner.
two tonight. First is from the Office of the State Comptroller with the latest state sales tax collection numbers. Statewide sales tax collections were down 7.8% in August, almost the same as the 8.2% that they were down in July. In Monroe County, things got a little bit better, improved over July, I should say. We are still worse than the state average. And in Monroe County, sales tax collections in August were down almost 12%. So as I said earlier, every month since the month of April, we have been down by double digits on our sales tax collection. So while we may be slowly recovering, those numbers are still significantly down from last year, significantly down from our budgeted numbers. And as you heard in the budget presentation, will clearly remain below this year's levels next year. And so we have estimated a significant decrease. It's actually about 13% from about 4.3 million that we estimated this year to 3.8 million that we estimate next year. But that's the reality of the current uncertainty as it relates to COVID. We do not know. We don't know when a vaccine is going to be approved. We don't know what the reaction is going to be to it. We don't know what the fall and winter are going to bring. One thing we do know is that the first quarter next year will clearly be down because it was up against the first quarter this year, which was largely pre-pandemic and was actually very, very strong for sales tax. So we wanted to budget conservatively, as we always do. And that conservative budgeting is reflected in the second item of communication from Tracy Hinchin-Boyd, Assistant Comptroller of the State of New York, indicating that the town of Brighton fiscal stress score has remained unchanged from last year, indicating that the town of Brighton is not in fiscal stress, or at least was not in fiscal stress. This is the end of the year. We are still not in fiscal stress, but obviously a lot has changed since the beginning of this year. But I think it's notable again that the comptroller recognizes that our financial condition, our fiscal stress, as they call it, is a rating of no stress and unchanged from last year. Those are the items of communication. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, we have a motion to receive and file those. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio,
Aye.
Councilmember Warner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Supervisor Maley.
Aye. Committee reports. Community Services, Robin?
Thanks, Bill. We actually met in person. I'm happy to say without event. The Community Services Committee met on Wednesday, September 16th. And these are the items that I have to report. In terms of park issues, parks are open and the busiest that our park superintendent, Matt Beeman, has ever seen. People are using the pavilions to cook out, as well as flocking to our trails, playgrounds, and other park spaces. And the staff has done its best in light of the very high demand to keep things up and running amid shortages, not only in staffing, but also in equipment acquisition. It's just been difficult to acquire equipment during the pandemic. The Meridian Park Playground installation is completed to optimize costs and maximize safety. The manufacturer, Game Time, and our park staff cooperated to adopt a hybrid installation model that significantly reduced the expense to the town while also providing a final approval of the installation by Game Time. There has been continued high demand from our sports groups for field use. There was discussion of our aging playground infrastructure within the town and the ongoing rigorous inspection standards that our staff maintains in order to ensure equipment safety. There was also discussion of the lodge rental format transitioning to a full day rental model, which actually conforms to the practices of the vast majority of our local municipalities. And also in that regard, the need for our patrons to follow our masking protocols established for safety during the pandemic. We are trying to turn those around safely. So please do follow all of the pandemic protocols that are in place. There was also discussion that we've added a half-mile perimeter trail around the town hall campus with the help of George Smith and his urban forestry group at Brighton High School. And I think that's going to be a wonderful addition. With regard to our recreation programs, our fall program registration is underway. As you learned last meeting, we didn't print a paper brochure, but we're doing online program promotion to allow us the needed flexibility to adjust our programming. We're asking that everyone, in light of the fact that we do not have a paper brochure, pay attention to our Facebook page and website, and also emails that we're distributing for upcoming program announcements. We are resuming some in-person programming as well as continuing our online offerings and expanding upon those offerings. Our full-time staff are adjusting their work schedules to cover the evening programs to make sure that all health and safety check-ins are being done and properly documented by the town. The recreation department does remain closed to the public and is secure when programs are ongoing, but we're pleased to have it open for business on a limited basis. And we're excited for new program opportunities that have emerged due to the pandemic. Plans are being made for a safe, socially distant trick-or-treating event this fall, and more details about that will follow, but we're really excited to provide that bright spot for our youth. The Brighton seniors are continuing to enjoy the grab and go lunch partnership with the Henrietta Senior Center. And we hope to continue this as long as we are able and still endeavor to have a Brighton site. The Brighton Farmers Market remains open following our COVID guidelines. And an update to our Winter Farmers Market. To conserve costs, an immense amount of site work has been completed by town forces. There have been several buildings that have been removed and work continues on the interior of the building. Utilities are currently being brought to the building for connection. The extension of the Brickyard Trail to the Winter Market is complete. And just to note, the summer market will remain outside through December 20th at Brighton High School. More details will be distributed regarding final dates and times, and the winter market will not be operating at Brookside this year. We already had an update to our Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Advisory Board. The board is hosting its final of the currently scheduled community conversations about ways to promote inclusion, diversity, and equity in Brighton. And we invite all residents to join us on Saturday, September 26th from 9:30 to 11 a.m. by registering online with our Brighton registration or Brighton Recreation online catalog, or of course to call the supervisor's office, Bridget Monroe, at 784-5252. And please do let us know if you require any accommodation or support for your participation. In update to our beautification committee, which did not meet during the pandemic, we are going to resume our committee meetings. I've been in touch with the membership, and we have been maintaining communication with a column within Brighton Connections from one of the master gardener members of the beautification committee, but we hope to resume some sort of meeting, hopefully via Zoom or some means to keep our work going. In update to community choice aggregation, the second RFP for 100% renewable electric supply was sent out the week of September 7th, with responsive documents due October 1st. We will be meeting with our CCA administrator on October 5th for bid results. And we're very hopeful that we will have some conforming bids this time around. Christine, did you want to update on bike walk to school week, which will not be happening, but also our discussion of the RTS Hopper bike program?
Sure, I'd be happy to, Robin. The short version on the bike and walk to school recognition that happens typically twice a year in May and October. It's not happening this October due to, we can count COVID as one of the reasons, and also folks who have been leaders in this program are temporarily out of the area. So it's an unusual year for that. But good news with Hopper, H-O-P-R, and to be honest, I don't know what that stands for yet. It's nowhere on the website. I've got to ask someone. It's a mystery. But Hopper, the bike share program that is coming to the entire metro area, is moving along. They have hired a planner locally. She is working out site selection in the city of Rochester right now in conjunction with RTS, because this program is integrated into the overall transit system for the region, which is exactly as it should be. It's all about mobility and getting around, and we don't have to be car first. So she's working through that this week. There will be a schedule set by the end of this week for the suburban locations to begin being sussed out rather. Brighton should be near the top of that list, both alphabetically and in proximity to the core of the network, the transit network. And we'll be working closely with them to ensure that we have sites that are convenient for the community, sites that are logical, sites that get you to the places that you want to go and that integrate well with the bus system. So stay tuned for more updates. I'll be out on the streets with the planner and sitting down and discussing where those best locations will be.
Thank you so much, Christine. We also in committee discussed the Brighton Complete Count Committee. That's our 2020 census update. We are winding down on the 2020 census collection process that will close out on September 30th. We're on track to have between 77 and 78% participation rate for our community, which of course is well short of a complete count. We are currently at 77.1% in Brighton, and we are still trailing the response rates of some of our neighboring towns. Penfield is at 79.9%, Parrington at 81.3%, and Pittsford at 84.3%. So want to emphasize a final really strong push It's crucial that we have an accurate count to ensure that we're properly funded for all of the wonderful programming through our rec department and our emergency responders, infrastructure, after school programs, senior programs. So much is dependent on getting that count. So again, I want to remind people that at the end of the day, it really is about money, power, and data. So make sure that Brighton gets its fair share by completing the 2020 census. You can respond to the census at 2020census.gov. We also discussed the mobile African American history display. Kelly Cheadle, who is a resident of Brighton and local business owner, she's also an artist and a creator. She's working with our town historian, Mary Jo Lanphier, and we're looking forward to completing a mobile display for our African American history for the town of Brighton in time for February 2021. And I met today with both Kelly and Mary Jo, and I was really excited about this cooperation. So we're looking forward to finally getting that display up and running. It's been something that we've aspired to for a couple of years now. So I'm glad to see that it finally looks like we're in those final stages. We also talked about our potential for territory acknowledgement. We'd like to move forward with this for Indigenous Peoples Day, which is October 12th this year. And we're still in discussions with the Native American Cultural Center. I just received an email during this meeting and hope to follow up with Ronnie Pollock over at the Native American Cultural Center to find out what we can do in that regard. We also discussed disavowal of restricted covenants. And we had updates from attorneys who have provided opinions on this, and we're in discussions about the best way to move forward without requiring action on the part of every single property owner who has a restrictive covenant within the town. We also discussed the fact that it would be beneficial to have state legislation so that we can do some kind of blanket disavowal. And so we're continuing to pursue alternatives in that regard. And then in items of new business, we discussed a Green Amendment resolution. And the Green Amendment is a simple 15-word addition to the New York State Constitution that says simply, each person shall have a right to clean air and water and a healthful environment. The current New York Bill of Rights contains many of our most sacred civil liberties, but unfortunately, nowhere in there is a right to a clean and healthful environment. This amendment has already passed one of the legislative sessions needed at the state level for it to be sent to referendum. So as we approach the 2021 legislative session, there has been a request from groups that are hoping to implement this amendment that municipalities pass resolutions in support of the measure to raise awareness among our state legislators and just demonstrate support for the endeavor. And since we're anticipating new representation in both the state Senate and Assembly for the town of Brighton, we're considering adopting a resolution in support of the Green Amendment. And finally, we discussed racism as a public health crisis. Obviously, there's been a lot going on in terms of local tragedies and national tragedies with regard to police brutality. And there is a resolution before the Senate right now, Senate Resolution 3206. And we discussed the potential of as we have done in the past with gender and safe gun storage, to adopt similar language on the local level to this Senate Resolution 3206, just in support of declaring racism a public health crisis. We're in discussion with Dr. Mendoza at the county level to see how we can move forward on this with county support. And I just want to, again, highlight some upcoming events. The Idea Board Zoom World Cafe, again, will be Saturday, September 26th from 9:30 to 11 a.m. And the long anticipated return of the semi-annual electronics recycling and secure document shredding event. I got so many calls on this during the course of the pandemic, and I know people are cleaning out their stores and are very excited to see the return of this very popular event. That will be held again on Saturday, October 10th. From 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at our Brighton Highway Department, 1941 Elmwood Avenue. We look forward to seeing you there. And we will, of course, be following COVID protocols, but it is an outdoor event, and we look forward to proceeding with that. And in addition to that, our semi-annual Drug Enforcement Agency pharmaceutical take-back event is scheduled to occur at the Brighton Town Hall Public Safety Wing over 2300 Elmwood Avenue on Saturday, October 24th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. The next meeting of the Community Services Committee will be on Wednesday, October 21st. At 9:30 a.m. at the Brookside Recreation Center. Please do let us know if you intend to be there, but as always, we hope to see members of the public there, and should we have enough of a turnout, then we will conduct the meeting via Zoom, but we hope to see you on Wednesday, October 21st at 9:30 a.m.
Thank you, Robin. Jason, Finance Committee.
Yes, the Finance Committee also met in person last week, all masked up and socially distanced in the Town Hall auditorium. And each of the items that we discussed during our meeting appear on tonight's agenda, will be voted on and discussed in further detail. And the other item that took up a lot of our time was the discussion of the tentative budget. And all of the difficult challenges we face this year and the difficult decisions we need to make. That was all part of Finance Director Paula Parker's presentation of the tentative budget earlier tonight. Our next meeting will be held on Tuesday, October 6th. We will meet at 3:30 in the afternoon in the auditorium over at Town Hall, and the public is invited to attend. We just ask that if you do plan on attending, that you contact Bridget Monroe in the supervisor's office so we can make appropriate arrangements.
Thank you, Jason. Christine, Public Safety.
Public Safety has not yet had a chance to meet in person, but I do have a couple of public safety updates and news of our first in-person meeting coming up soon. So Public Safety has a bit of a back to school theme to it right now. We do ask that community members observe school speed zones in all 5 of the districts that serve Brighton. We want you to pay a special attention in 12 Corners. We all know that it is a difficult area to navigate on the best of days. Most of the districts serving Brighton have asked for reduced bus ridership by students, which means there are many more students walking and biking to schools all around town, and plus many more parents doing drive and drop off. So please be cautious around the schools. One way that the community is helping with that safety is the Brighton Police Department school crossing guards. There is a need for new crossing guards. A job posting is available on the town website. The applications are still being accepted, I believe, and those who are interested in applying should submit a cover letter and resume to Chief Catholi. The details are on the website. I've often thought that would be an awesome way to start and end the day. I'm a little envious of the crossing guards and what they get to do, greeting our students and assisting with safety for all who are on our sidewalks and out and about in the mornings and afternoons. Continuing with the education theme, the Brighton Volunteer Ambulance has educasational opportunities coming up. Of note is for the public on October 5th, a Heart Saver CPR AED training for the general public. You can find information about this course and how to register on their website at brightonambulance.org. Look for the classes. You'll learn adult CPR AED. You'll learn adult choking relief, child CPR AED, infant CPR, and child and infant choking relief. All very important skills to have. And last, following the educational theme, the Brighton Fire Department also offers educational programs that can be conducted at the firehouse or at your organization's location, and they address topics including fire escape route planning, conducting fire drills, fire extinguisher training, and so on. That information can be found on their website at brightonfd.org. The next meeting of the Public Safety Committee will be in person. Yay. It will be the day before the next town board meeting, Tuesday, October 13th at 8 a.m. The agenda will be posted in advance. I can tell you with the time lag between our last meeting in February and now, the agenda is long and full. But if you have any additional matters to be addressed, they can be submitted to me or any member of the committee. You can check the website for our contact information, and that information can be found at townofbrighton.org/public safety committee. If you intend to attend that meeting bright and early on Tuesday morning, October 13th, please contact the supervisor's office at 585-784-5252. And I'm looking forward to seeing many friendly faces at that meeting as we pick up where we left off.
Thanks, Christine. And finally, Public Works, Chris.
Thank you, Bill. We're looking forward to our first in-person meeting since the winter here, which will be October the 6th at 9:00 a.m. in the town hall. And please do register ahead of time. Contact the supervisor's office if you'd like to attend. In the meantime, the highway department has been watching the weather and awaiting the leaves falling to the ground, and they're gearing up to start leaf collection. They expect around mid-November once the leaves begin dropping, depending when that frost comes.
Mid-October.
Or mid-October, did I say it? What did I say?
November. Mid-October, they'll start picking up leaves.
Well, mid-October, yes, but who knows when they'll actually fall. We'll see. But Ambassador Drive has been getting a milling, which will start tomorrow. This will be followed by truing and leveling the roadway surface next week, and we anticipate that the final paving will take place during the beginning of October, weather permitting. Similarly, Duffield Road reconstruction has begun work, and we anticipate that the project will be completed at the end of October or beginning of November. So once again, we have our first in-person meeting on October the 6th at 9:00 at Town Hall, and the public is invited.
Thanks, Chris. And just to clarify for everybody out there, when we say we ask you to let us know if you're planning on attending, right now we continue to have limited and by appointment only access to Town Hall. All access is through the public safety wing of the building where the police and the courts are. And we are also being very cautious about limiting the size of these meetings. Committee meetings are a subgroup of the town board and have smaller crowds and therefore can meet in person. But this is an old building. It doesn't have the same kind of HVAC filtration systems that newer buildings have. So we are really very, very cautious on limiting numbers. And as I think Robin mentioned, if in fact we do have a significant number of people from the public who would like to attend, that's fine. But we will probably have to then convert the meeting to a Zoom meeting. And if we don't get that, if we don't hear that from you, we may have to even reschedule the meetings because we just won't have had the opportunity to get the meeting set up. So we welcome participation, but again, in this COVID era, you will be coming into town hall, or if it's the community services to Brookside, you will be temperature checked. You will be asked some typical questions that most of you have no doubt answered to get into some building or another. But we're trying very hard. It really was great to have those finance and community services meetings to be together in person and to discuss important matters. So thank you for all that. We'll move on now to new business. Jason, reading and approval of claims.
Yes, Bill, earlier today, I reviewed claims totaling $1,174,092.79. Notable claims include to American Rock Salt Company in the amount of $48,122.87, representing payment for purchase of road salt per municipal bid for the upcoming 20-2021 snow season. And yes, unfortunately, summer is coming to a close and we have to plan for that. Also to the city of Rochester in the amount of $333,500, representing the fourth quarter payment for fire protection services in the West Brighton Fire Protection District. Also to Gwen Inc. in the amount of $6,250, representing payment for the IDEA Consulting Services per board approved contract, and that's our Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Advisory Board. Also to Insight Architecture in the amount of $12,065, representing payment for design services for the Brighton Winter Farmers Market project. And finally to M&T Bank in the amount of $38,504.72, representing debt service payment for the Elmwood Avenue Relief Sewer project as funded through Environmental Facilities Corp. And of that amount, $35,000 was toward principal. The claims all appear to be in order, and I move that they be approved.
Second, Robin, Wilt.
Thank you. Any discussion on those? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Supervisor Maley.
Aye. Next matter, Chris. Gotta unmute.
Excuse me. The next item is to declare certain highway department equipment as surplus and to be sold at public auction. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Can I have a second?
Second, DePonzio.
The items are listed there, and any questions that anybody has? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Supervisor Maley.
Aye. Christine, the next matter.
Yes, the next matter seeks to declare police vehicles as surplus to be sold at auction. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second, Robin.
Discussion on those. These are both vehicles with well over 100,000 miles on them. They get a lot of use. They're only 2015, so they're 5 years old, but those are a lot of miles and hard miles so over that time. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? And of course, ultimately, as we've been discussing, they will be replaced, and they'll be replaced with a hybrid vehicles as per our more recent procurement policies. So Dan, please call the roll on that motion unless there's any further comment.
Councilmember DePonzio,
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. Robin.
Yes, the next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to execute an agreement with Spectrum for internet services in an amount not to exceed $28,320 annually for a term of 3 years, effective January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2023. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second, Chris Warner.
As you can see from our IT director's memo, Jeremy Lutz's memo, this will do a couple of things. One, make us much better prepared for disaster recovery, which is always an issue with IT, but also better speed for internal use. Obviously, we've got a couple of different locations, and we have sometimes been hampered a little bit by slow speeds between our various buildings, so this will help with that. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio,
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. Jason, the next matter, please.
Yes, the next matter seeks to authorize the filing of a certificate of bonding for the collection of taxes per New York State Town Law, Section 25. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second, Robin.
Section 25 requires that an undertaking be filed by the clerk each time they're collecting taxes. And this is something we do every tax collection cycle, every year, I guess.
Yeah, much like the highway department's already planning for snow and ice season, even though we haven't finished school tax collection, I already got to start getting ready for the town and county in January, and that's what this is regards to.
Thanks, Dan. Further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll on your motion.
Councilmember DePonzio,
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. Christine.
The next matter seeks to authorize submission of an application for 2020-2021 Justice Court Assistance Program grant to refurbish walls of one courtroom and add a cell phone locker to the court lobby. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second, Chris Warner.
Thank you, Chris. Any discussion on this? Again, the supporting material is fairly self-explanatory. Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio,
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. And finally, Robin, on the motion for an appointment to the Board of Assessment Review.
Certainly. On the matter regarding the reappointment to the Board of Assessment, I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town. I'm trying to scroll to see names I would have liked to include. I'm sorry.
Terry Shannon.
Yeah, Terrence Shannon, who goes by Terry.
Okay, thank you. So on the matter, I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second, Chris Warner.
He has served. He's in the commercial real estate world and has expressed an interest in serving for another 5 years, and we appreciate that. This term will run then from October 1st of this year through September 30th, 2025. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussions? Then Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio,
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Supervisor Maley.
Aye. Matters of the supervisor, we do have the August expense and revenue report. And as always, we would normally wait until the end of, until we receive the September report, the third quarter report, for Paula to actually make a presentation. We've talked enough about money tonight. None of it's good, unfortunately. So if we could just have a motion, please, to receive and file the August expense and revenue report.
So moved.
Second, Robin.
Any discussion on any of these? If not, please, Dan, call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio,
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Supervisor Maley.
Aye. Ken, matters of the attorney to the town?
The only thing I have tonight is a brief update for the board on a matter of litigation, which I would like to do in executive session, please.
We'll add that. Thank you. Matters of the clerk?
Yes, thank you, Supervisor. Just a couple of things. Again, as we wind down the school tax collection, we'll be collecting without additional interest through October 1st. And there's 4 ways to pay right now, since we're not able to do payments in the office. Again, we have our drop box located at entrance number 9 at the rear of Town Hall. We have a supply of envelopes back there as well. So if you show up expecting to pay in person, you can catch those folks and so they don't have to go all the way back home again. Just ask that if you do that, please write your property address on the outside of the envelope. You can also pay through the U.S. mail. Again, you want postmarks before October 1st. Either of the 2 M&T branches here in Brighton, the Munner Avenue just up from 12 Corners, as well as Loman's/Tops Plaza, depending on your preference. And as well, County Executive Adam Bello has waived the 3% service charge, typically affixed to any credit card payments through the county's website. Again, they are waiving that fee, so it actually finally makes sense if you've got the credit limit to pay your taxes with a credit card and maybe even get some cash back. So other note, again, coming up, and I'll talk about this through October, but elections obviously are coming up soon. People have started receiving on Friday polling place notifications from the Board of Elections. Unfortunately, a lot of them are incorrect. They went out, and I haven't had a chance to talk to either of the commissioners yet, but they went out prior to the finalizing of polling sites. So in Brighton, as I mentioned last meeting, 6 of our normal locations have regrettably, they feel bad about it, but they just had to bow out this year due to COVID. And folks got notifications still listing those locations. So the BOE will be mailing additional information out there, and looking at other ways of notification that we can do at the town level to help let folks know both of the correct day of voting site locations, as well as another chance to maybe let know about the early voting sites around, especially since we have, you know, the Empire State College so graciously hosting it early up on Westfall Road. So stay tuned to the mailboxes. There'll be more coming out. I was able to secure, with the help of the Board of Elections and some of our local business community, a couple of other locations. So we have new sites for everyone, but I don't have 100% final word from BOE about them, but we're like ivory pure levels at this point. We're just waiting for that last final check. But again, those notifications should be going out in the relative near, well, there's not a ton of time left, so it has to be the relative near future. So stay tuned for all of that. If anybody has any questions, by all means, call the office at any time, and I'm happy to chat with anyone about where they are or what they are. We already are getting a lot of calls about early voting locations and others, so the election calls are starting earlier than usual this year, which is a good thing. You know, people are paying attention and want to know, so we're ready and willing to answer the questions.
Thanks, Dan. For those of you that didn't get his ivory soap reference, they used to advertise as being 99.44% pure. So good little trivia there, Dan. Dan, do you have, I know there's been some discussion about drop boxes for ballots. And you know, in some parts of the country, they're all set and ready to go with those. Do you have an update on where that might be at here in Monroe County specifically?
I do not.
Okay.
The governor's order talked about having boxes at all polling sites and early polling sites. Typically, folks can bring a ballot to a polling site anyway in New York, or certainly to the Board of Elections. That's always been on the books. But I have not heard about I mean, certainly they have, they're carrying votes, they're holding votes now, so it shouldn't be much of a stretch to have some sort of a collection device at each of these sites.
Okay. Well, as you hear something, I know you'll keep us posted, more importantly, the community posted. Any matters of the town board?
Yes.
Christine?
Yes, I'm going to continue my back to school theme. Housing stability is a very important part of successful schooling, and the COVID crisis has created some challenges for renters. I just want to be sure that the community is aware, and renters and landlords alike, in terms of paying rent. I want to make the community aware that there is a program consolidating countywide, a new countywide court structure that will consolidate eviction cases from town courts and the city of Rochester into a single place. And folks who are at risk, have concerns about eviction right now, can call 211 and they will be directed to the right aid service to help them sort out their situation. So dial 211 and you will be directed to assistance in sorting out potential eviction through the Eviction Prevention Pilot Initiative. And that is all.
Thanks, Christine. Do you know, is that intended as a temporary COVID-related change or a longer-term change?
My understanding is that it's temporary. It seems to me, from my limited perspective, but it does seem to me that it is a wise sharing of services and we perhaps will learn whether or not it's a more effective means for handling eviction cases going forward. And again, this is for tenants and for landlords who are facing challenges with collecting rent and maintaining housing.
Thank you. Any other town board issues? Hearing none, then can I have a motion to go into executive session to discuss the employment of a particular person as well as a matter of litigation?
So moved.
Second.
Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wiltz.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Supervisor Mailey.
Aye. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this evening. We look forward to seeing you at our next town board meeting on October 14th. Again, on Zoom. I do not anticipate we'll be coming back into public session after the executive session. So we look forward to seeing you then. Stay safe, everybody. Have a good evening.